In what way is the challenge of becoming an entrepreneur different for a woman as opposed to a man?
Well, I think in the funding context, so much of venture capital deals or getting investment is based on your relationships, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
are you in the club? Are you known? And it can be difficult for women to know how to be part of that club or even be accepted into that club, right, to begin with. So that's part of the issue. The other part of the issue is women tend to come up with different business models in my experience. They tend to be less likely to be a pure play tech company and more the application of tech in an innovative way to disrupt an industry that they have deep domain expertise in. They also tend to come to entrepreneurship a little bit older than men, so they don't fit the kind of pattern recognition stereotype of the guy in the hoodie in his garage eating ramen noodles, like too many carbs, don't have a garage, that kind of thing. And they tend to come into entrepreneurship more into their 30s, 40s, and even 50s when they've already tried to disrupt an industry from within a corporation. Where they've already have a lot of experience with hiring and firing and scaling and building teams and doing all these sorts of things. Whereas the prototype for the male entrepreneur is to come into it in his 20s with none of that business or experience or domain experience. And VC puts a team of all that around them. So there are a lot of really big differences. Also in the best time, there's a lot of research that shows the best time where women really excel as entrepreneurs are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. And that's where they're really crushing it. And men in their 20s and 30s. So we don't fit the pattern, and investors like to invest based on pattern recognition. In fact, they say so. So there's a bit of a disconnect there. The other issue is women tend to create businesses too that are addressing a market aimed at 51% of the population, i.e. women. And I can't tell you how many women have been told, oh, hey, your product doesn't address a big enough market. And the woman's like, wait a minute, it's like half the population. What are you talking about? Because the man can't necessarily see or relate to a product, say about women's health or such, that they don't experience themselves. So those are some of the external issues. And then meantime, there's also an issue with women just having the confidence to be able to know their worth, know their value, be able to talk confidently about their numbers, and also, quite frankly, dream big enough. A lot of women start small businesses. There are not a lot of women that say, yeah, hey, I'm building $1 billion business, right? You just don't see it. So, and it's partly the way we've been acculturated as a society. I think there's a lot of fear around it because women think, oh, men won't like them if they're ambitious, or their girlfriends won't like them anymore for daring to dream big. And so there's a lot of societal pressures, I think, that can also have the effect of dampening women's true ability. I like to joke that if you want therapy, just become an entrepreneur. And the reason for this is along the journey of building a company, it's hard. You're going to be confronted with all kinds of beliefs that you formed as a child before you even had a frontal lobe. Like before you even, and perhaps it was something as simple as watching a TV show or hearing your parents argue about money or something that happened to you, or maybe you got bullied or it could be anything. And, the research shows that 80% of our actions are entirely run by our subconscious rather than our conscious minds. And if that's the case, and we're all stuck in toddlerhood in that case, the world is being run by toddlers. And when you think of the motivation. So these sorts of realizations did send me very much on a personal growth or perhaps a spiritual growth journey. I'm a big believer in meditation. My gateway into meditation was yoga. I started doing yoga in the 90s. That led me really to meditation, to things like visualization, to like affirmation, to actually learning that if I was triggered by something, anything that makes you angry, it could be Like you're angry because a car passed you that you didn't think should pass you, or you might be angry just like a certain person, just the way they behave makes you feel uncomfortable or something, any kind of trigger. That is an opportunity. That's an opportunity to look within and say, what is it about me, right? That where do I have some memory of this? What is it about me that I can release so I no longer have to have this experience? I like to say that when the lesson is learned, the experience is no longer necessary. And all these things that are adverse in our lives, particularly as an entrepreneur, when you have a challenge, it's always an opportunity. I think the best entrepreneurs are, in fact, alchemists. They're people that take coal, turn it into diamonds, and just do that on a minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year basis. And you're constantly being tested. And it's constantly how can I release the stuff that doesn't serve me? How can I be in alignment, not only with myself and my core purpose or my unique genius, why I'm here right now in an Earth suit on planet Earth? How can I be in alignment with that? And how can I open myself up to inspiration beyond me and be more of a channel and connected in flow? And that's really how I think about it. And it's like anything, it's been an evolutionary process. I wish I could say I was this wise in my 20s, 30s, 40s, etc. But sadly, no. It's been an experience to have this level of understanding and connection and alignment, 100%.
The thing that makes me very happy about our mission at Digistore24, which is basically empowering 1 million entrepreneurs, is to give people freedom and to give them the ability to build things, because I truly believe that entrepreneurs are the ones that are the only ones who can make society better, who can bring more prosperity and make life better. For me, it's not the politicians who can really do that. I think it's really people who create jobs, run successful businesses, and entrepreneurs are really the ones that improve society. And I totally believe that if we support them, we're doing the best impact we can, and the more the better. And I think that really drives me. That's amazing, and that also helps me through when we have a difficult time. And of course, sometimes it's easier, sometimes you win, sometimes you have challenges. And all in all, it's a great journey. So interesting. Like, I did not receive any VC funds, so I'm not funded externally. In your opinion, when is the right time to think about working with VCs, or would you like do it right from the get-go? How do you think about that?
Money's expensive if you take it too early. The best optimal time, if you can bootstrap or friends, family, like whatever you got to do, to get to the point where your product or service or whatever is actually growing, and you can prove the metrics that people love the product, right? They're paying you, and that those numbers are starting to go up and there's sort of trajectory. That's more the time to take the money to double down on something that you've proven. The ideal time, and it doesn't always work out like this for people, because depending on the type of company, sometimes you do need money really early just to build the product, right? So it depends on the type of business. But as much as you can, waiting for that moment where you're asking investors to invest, to throw gasoline on a fire that's already burning, you know what I mean? Is the optimal time. And it doesn't always work out that way. I mean, I think the other thing that's really interesting, though, too, about VCs, I think because the power dynamics are simple. Startups go and like pitch the VCs, and then we feel judged by them. And as a result of their judging us, as entrepreneurs, we can tend to ascribe a lot of smarts and intelligence and insights and wisdom to VCs that often they don't actually have. There's a very big difference between being invested in or judged by someone who has been an entrepreneur themselves, but they were once an operator before they became a VC, and someone who, went to Harvard Business School and like worked at McKinsey, and it's all theoretical to them.
Mm.
They can't possibly really understand. Like, I think there's sort of a civilian, non-civilian thing around. Like, there's an entrepreneur and there's everybody else, because the entrepreneur really knows in there what it takes to do this. And so to be judged by or evaluated by someone who's just entirely theoretical, they really, really just don't know. And they don't necessarily know about your sector. They don't really necessarily know, so not all money is created equal. I would say that one of the most critical things about raising money is to qualify your investors just like they're qualifying you. Major point. How do they treat people? Like, talk to their portfolio companies. What are they doing when the proverbial or the, shit hits the fan, right? Mm-hmm. How are they reacting? How do they react to that? So you need to know that, because it's going to happen. How do they treat their other portfolio companies? Like, do your diligence on them, because I've seen so many companies that were really promising take money from the wrong people. And then, and the founder and the vision gets all messed up, and company can fail for taking the wrong money from the wrong people. So, it's a diligence should be a two-way street.
Can you give 3 tips for starting entrepreneurs when you look back, things that you should have known? Would you tell to your younger self if you would have to start out?
Oh gosh, it's a longer list than 3, so I'm just gonna.
You can extend it. Please extend it.
I mean, there's so many lessons. Gosh, I'm just thinking through this through here. I would say, though, for a very early founder, like, know your motivation of what you actually, want to achieve, and really, visualize and think big enough. Don't limit yourself for what you see of the people around you or whatever. And part of that is really understanding your unique zone of genius. We do this exercise with my team where, and also it's part of our hiring process, where we ask people what's their unique zone of genius, the thing that only they could do is unique to them as a human being on the planet. Just like, no 2 snowflakes are alike, no 2 people are. So what's that, unique zone of genius? What's a zone of excellence? Zone of excellence, meaning you're better than 80 to 90% of the world at that, but there are still other people who are just as good or better than you, but you're excellent. Zone of competence, where it's like a learned thing. You've learned how to do it because you've had to. Your startup, you're doing everything, but it's not intrinsic to you and you don't much like it, and someone else could be much, much better than you, right, at that thing. And then finally, what's your zone of suck? Like, what do you suck at? Like, everybody sucks at something, right? These are the things that you want to make sure in the zone of competence and zone of suck that you are either delegating that stuff or deleting it, but you're not trying to do it yourself. I would say double down on your strengths, on your genius and excellence, really get to understand that and hire the rest. Don't try to do it all. Founders that are in kind of control and perfectionism throttle their businesses. The other thing I would say is it's vital to accept failure as part of your process. Failure is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to learn. It's like a scientist in a lab, you're testing hypotheses, to get to product market fit or convince someone to buy your product. You've got to be learning from your customers. You've got to be trying different things. Like, should that button be over here on the app or should it be over here? What's better? How can we, and being on that, being on your numbers, learning from the failures and forgiving yourself for the failures. Again, failure is part of the process. So let's destigmatize it. Let's say it's failing forward, but it's an essential component of any kind of innovation. And then I would say surround yourself with people who truly have your back. And I don't mean sycophants. I mean people who are going to speak truth to power to you, right? But they know you and they genuinely want you to succeed. They're not going to fill your head with all the reasons why you can't do something, or are you sure, or like any of that. But, surround, because you are the median of the 5 closest people to you. So are you surrounded by negative people, or are you surrounded by people that are uplifting you and really have your back? There's a huge difference, and that's vital to success. This is a long list, prioritize your own self-care. Because without you, there's nothing. And if you just burn out trying to do everything yourself, there's no company. So you got to look after yourself, like not only your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, do whatever you need to do, lift weights, meditate, do yoga, jog, like, whatever it is. But like, that's actually vital. And that's kind of like the at whatever stage of the journey you're at, these things are really, really, really important.